And one time we were just on the phone talking about side pieces, and I was like, well, guys operate this way. And he's like, well, women do this. I'm like, well, who do it best?
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the YanBar podcast. Today's guest is the author of a series of novels called The Love Collection. And she's also a host, very popular podcast, Sentimentally Speaking. So again, everybody, Antenette. Hey, thank you for joining the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure when I get to grace your screen.
That's what's up. Hey, check this out. I was just checking out some of the podcast episodes that you have on here. And for mine, I was thinking it'd be kind of cool to go down a couple of the titles of your pod, and then
Okay.
perhaps maybe if you have a favorite, you might like to speak to it. And once again, I want to get to the list that you have here. Videos, excellent. Okay, one of I found particularly "Till Death Do Us Part." That was interesting. Navigating parenting, I believe, is that one episode? You recall that one? And
Yep.
then first experience with, I'm not sure what that one was about. Then Silver Fox Chronicles. Now, on side piece, that's one I found particularly interesting too. Any of your episodes that you think, which one do you think was the best? Which one maybe one of your favorites?
You say favorites, right? All of them are my favorites. And that I don't mean that to be cheeky, right? I legit love every segment. And I'll tell you why. Because when I record them, you never know how it's going to turn out until you play it back, right? So it's like, oh, I don't know. Did we say too much? Oh, did we not say enough? Oh, were we too giggly or silly or unserious about this specific topic? And then when you go watch it, I find that they're going to have a couple of E's. They're either going to be entertaining, they're going to be engaging, or they're going to be enlightening, or you might even learn something and it be educational. So therefore, I feel like if you could get one of those four E's from any of my segments, then it becomes a fan favorite, right? Because people are going to take different things. I could tell you, this was my first season go around doing couples, and I love it because I am all things love, and I love talking about relationships. I think that's one of my. I've probably been in every phase of any relationship you could think of, and I think that's one of my favorite things to talk about. So I would say I've really enjoyed the couple segments, but I also enjoyed speaking with people about different topics. Like you talked about the side piece one. That was with me and my cousin Charles. And one time we were just on the phone talking about side pieces. And I was like, well, guys operate this way. And he's like, well, women do this. I'm like, well, who do it best? I was like, you know what? Save it for sentimentally speaking. And it was a really engaging topic that people found interesting. You don't hear most people comparing the two, but they exist. Men are side pieces, women are side pieces. So that was fun to do. Parenting, that's near and dear in my heart. So when I spoke to Miss Nakia, and I was like, you know what? Let's talk about parenting our adult children, our young adult children from like 18 to 25. What does that look like? What do they require of us? I know what my 8-year-old needs. I know how to support my 20-year-old. But what about my 18-year-old where they're kind of balancing independence, but still somewhat dependent on their parents? So that was enlightening. So all of them.
Now, how much of I see your novels that you have. I'd like to try to talk about both of these things if we can. And I'm wondering, like, how much of your novels are you? How much of your podcast is you? And how much, perhaps, of your podcast is interspersed in your novels? Is any connection in there?
Ooh, that's a good question. So the books that I wrote, like you said, accurately coined the love collection because every title has the word love in it. Y'all see my background, red, white, the lips thing over here. I'm all things love. I just really am. I titled myself the Queen of Hearts for a reason. And so when my books, Love, Life, Sex, and Relationships, my podcast, Sentimentally Speaking, Love, Life, Sex, and Relationship. So they do kind of go hand in hand. The things that I talk about my podcast, you could pick up any one of the books and probably find that in there. Side pieces, parenting woes, relationship woes, marital bliss. So they do align, and I think that's why it was so easy and natural and comfortable for me to make the transition from writing romance novels to actually having a platform where I can speak.
Wow. You know what? I was thinking about the podcast nowadays. It seems like everybody and mama nowadays have a cast, and that's cool. To me, the more the merrier and stuff. What made you decide to jump to the podcast thing after doing, I mean, still writing, I'm sure, but what made you also decide to take on podcasts?
So I love these opinion-based platforms, right? I can't say I love them all, but I love that people get to express themselves openly because I mean, face it, that we have these everyday conversations anyway, just not on screen. So essentially, that's what I'm doing. I'm having everyday conversations with everyday people about everyday topics.
Mhm.
When I write my books, they're a reflection of me going back because I realized you asked a question I didn't answer. Everything I do is authentic. And every time I show up, I do my best to be authentic, just being me, who I am. I'm not going to always say unapologetically, but I, you know what you get with me. You know what I'm saying? I am who I am every time. I usually don't I'll code switch, but my character, my personality, all of that remains consistent. So you see that in my books, you see that on screen, hopefully. And one thing I want to do is show up and be honest because if people are taking their time to read your writing, if people are taking their time to watch your videos, the least you could do is give them something real. I try not to front. Even though I'm a very private person, I try to give just enough for people to be like, oh, wow, that's how she feels, but not enough to truly know who I am. Because a lot of things shouldn't be public. A lot of things don't need to be public. Like I can sit here and have a conversation with you and be completely honest without telling my whole truth. And I think
Right.
that's a skill and the art in and of itself. Um, so did I answer your question? What'd you ask me?
Close enough. You know, I'm sitting here thinking when you spoke about being authentic, I find it challenging, particularly in the age of cancel culture. And like I say, I have a persona on here, right? Very nice, and in real life, I think I'm a nice person. But I curse like a sailor, but not online. You see what I'm saying? Now the authentic me, it be beep 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 beep, but we can't have that. So sometimes I have to tone it down. I can't really be who I like. Another thing when it comes to humor, I don't really see anything as sacred. I'm just talking about any blasted thing, but you can't do that online. So it does, I think it's like a balance and stuff. How are you finding that balance?
Great question, Pops. And we've talked about this before. I feel like, you know, that old adage, it's not what you say, it's how you say it, right? I feel like I should be able to express my opinions, my thoughts, and my feelings on something and still be respectful to the audience it may impact,
Mhm.
right? Um, there's a lot of communities that are super sensitive, Black people being one of them. I
Yeah.
think Black Americans are
Hmm.
some of the most sensitive
Oh
populations
yeah.
because every little thing could be interpreted as racist, right? Certain
Hmm.
things could be interpreted as sexist, but it's I respect other people's opinion. I think that's the part of being authentic is being real, is being um accepting of where folks are coming from and not taking things so personal and not personalizing them when they don't really apply to you. They're just expressing their feelings. Once we start censoring people, then I think we're doing ourselves a disservice because one thing I appreciate is learning myself through the eyes and mind and mouth of others, right? I could just be meeting you and you could be like, oh yeah, she's such a great person. And then I meet you months down the line. I'm like, what was your first impression of me? You know, I thought you were this, or I thought you were that. Trying to get offended by your perception of me when that's how I showed up and that's how you interpret it. Now, granted, right? Sometimes people's own mindset, people's own insecurities could fog or cloud their interpretation of others. But usually, like they say, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. What someone's interpretation is of you, and
Hmm.
that's what it is. And I think if we be honest, if we be kind and we be respectful, I don't think people really take as much offense to what we say if
Mm.
we're doing it, I guess, in a gracious way.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of people feel it's coming from a good place, perhaps, you know. Like if you critique someone, you're being nasty with your criticism, they can feel that. But if it's coming from a good place, people more inclined to accept, at least I believe and stuff. And just out, as far as your writing and your podcast and stuff, do you have any plans or ideas in particular with your writing? Do you have any plans of making perhaps a movie?
Cool. How much money I need to do visual person. So would love nothing more to see what I put in between covers to be on the big screen. I would love nothing more to sit and watch my work come to true life. If I could collaborate with somebody and turn one of my books into a mini movie, I, I mean that's a dream for sure.
Which
I don't
novel
know if
would it
I want to
be?
go broke or go in debt doing it.
Right. Which novel would it be?
Oh, so out of the seven that are currently published right now, I gotta say the first one. The way love is. So when you talk about me being reflected in my work, I am Cheyenne. Cheyenne is me. Like that was my first book. They say art imitates life. And
Right.
there were so many similarities between things I had gone through in that book and things I had gone through in life. And Cheyenne, she she was steadfast, she was smart, she was ambitious, she was a
Sounds like
hopeful
you.
romantic like me. Yes. So Cheyenne is me and I am Cheyenne. And honestly, here's a little tidbit. Every character, every book has a different main character. Autumn, Summer, Whitney, aka Skylar Wright, is a different personality of me. Every character is a different version of me. You know, we say we might have like different alter egos. They are different versions of me. But I would say Cheyenne is near and dear to my heart. And I wrote that book. And as I was writing it, and you do so much editing, you constantly rereading it, I hated it. I was like, I'm over this book. Like, let me just get it out and see what the people think. And I got it out and it was well received. I didn't touch that book again until maybe like 7 years later.
Mhm.
And when I read it, I was so proud of myself. I was so proud of myself because I was like, wow, that was really an amazing first piece of work. Like, I'm not a
Nice.
writer.
Hmm.
I'm not a writer by any means, but I know how to write. And there's amazing storytellers. I think I'm good.
Hmm.
But when I read that book, that was a great first piece. Yeah. So I would say The Way Love Is.
That's what's up. Yeah, we enjoy novels and stuff. Matter of fact, I was just talking about it the other day. It's a person that I know who, I wouldn't say they're a big read. Matter of fact, they don't really read at all. But they couldn't put your book down, and they still talk about it. This was a few years ago when they read, it, they still talk about it. Yeah. Hey, check this out. Before forgetting stuff, I pay the bills, so to speak. Where can people find your novel? Where can they find your work and your podcast?
You know, so all the books are on Amazon.com. They can find them there. My goal is to eventually get my own website, my own codes, and be able to do that. But via internet, Lady Lips, Lady V does not like the business aspect of any of this stuff. Like if I had a business partner, that would be amazing. I just like the creative control piece.
Understood.
But the books are on Amazon.com, and you can find my pod talk show cast episodes on YouTube. All of them are on YouTube. I do YouTube. Big fan of YouTube. If I only had to pick one or two social medias, it would probably be YouTube and a Twitter. But the rest of them I really don't really care for.
Exactly.
But they're on YouTube where anybody can access them. You don't need an account. You don't need to subscribe. I would like for you to subscribe. That's cool. You know, lets me know how many visitors, I have checking me out. But yeah, those two locations, Amazon and YouTube.
Excellent. I was thinking for the pod, well, I'm thinking now too, but for the pod, I was thinking, if you could combine, or would you, or do you have any plans of combining perhaps the book and yourself, like perhaps in a sense interviewing yourself, sharing your novels with your sentimentally speaking fans, so to speak, perhaps read something from. Just wondering if you had any plans of doing something like that as an episode.
Yeah, yeah. This is my response to you initially when you asked. Excuse me, sir. Are you my daddy? And that I swear before God, that was my mindset. I said, if I move away from interviewing people, I was gonna go into Sentimentally Speaking with by Antenette and literally dive into the books. God is my witness. So for you to ask that very specific question shows how aligned our minds is at a lot of the time. And we are here, sir. We are here.
That's
So
what's
yes, I
up.
thought about that.
All right. Not trying to press you, but when can we expect to see something like that?
So thought I didn't know how long Sentimentally Speaking would last. I just was having
Right.
fun with it. One thing I appreciate is that I interview friends and family. A lot of people I know. I haven't even really went outside my sphere of familiarity. And quite a few, probably more than not, have been shy. Oh my God, Vi, I've never done this. I'm scared. I don't know. I'm nervous. And once they do it, I always get a message. Thank you so much for taking me out of my comfort zone. I appreciate it. You was a great host. You made me feel relaxed. That feels so good. That makes me want to keep doing it. So I didn't know how long this would last. And I think I'm on 4. I probably got one more in me because I'm still thinking of people I would love to interview if they could come around.
Mhm.
And if let's say if after the 5th go round, the 5th season, I could see myself going to Sentimentally Speaking with my Antoinette.
Oh wow, that's cool. Now
Yeah.
another thing, do you plan on having a specific hour when you do this? People tend to love familiarity, and so let me hurry up and rush home so I can check out, the latest episodes. So you plan on having like a certain time you do them?
Oh, you mean like Sentimentally Speaking with my Antoinette at
Yeah, it'd be
night
like a show or
or
something.
like
Come on, at 8 p.m. or something.
damn, you asking a good question. So funny you say that. I like structure. I like routine. Don't like holding myself to something that's gonna stress me out. And I feel like once I start doing that, if something comes up, it doesn't allow me the flexibility
Mhm.
of being able to say, you know what, I can't get to this today at 8 p.m., but I will do it tomorrow, or I'm just going to bump this to next week. I
Mhm.
like to give myself flexibility at this point in time. I accomplished a lot, having a child at 15, graduate in high school. I was at the top of my class, right on time with my peers. Like I wasn't left behind. Who?
Mhm.
I had an 8 average when I left, going straight to college, getting my bachelor's, having a baby, planning a wedding, getting married, buying a house, all within the same month period. Like I'm just in my comfort season. Like if I feel like it, I'll do it. And if I don't, oh well. And if you fuck with me, you fuck with me. Like
Right.
I don't want to hold myself hostage to any time frames. But I
Mhm.
think that would be super amazing for people to be like, oh, it's Wednesdays at 10 p.m. I'm about to tune into this, talking after dark segment.
Right.
I think that would be cool. But I'm no longer placing myself under time
Understood.
constraints,
You know what? You could record. You don't necessarily have to be live. You can record them at your leisure, build up some, and then for the time you're not around, just upload a podcast for them at that particular time. Matter of fact, I think probably no better than I do. They probably have it so where you can schedule when they go out.
You're probably right. And I know if anybody can help me with that, it's you. So stay tuned. You just created a task, a partnership.
Exactly. And chances are, Vi, we getting down to it. And
Mhm.
as customary, like to offer the guests, last word, so to speak. It's like anything we didn't cover, words of wisdom, anything just want to say to people. It's a good time now.
Good time now. So I feel like life is already hard. We shouldn't make it harder. Um, Go with the flow. Do what makes you happy. Do what you're comfortable with. Operate in a space that benefits who you are as a person. I know this podcast area is oversaturated. I don't do things for numbers. I don't do things for attention. I really feel like I'm having conversations with people in my living room and I'm having guests over, whoever those guests may be. It might be 5, it might be 15, it might be 50. I'm grateful for every last one of them because they literally could have been doing something else, but they chose to devote their time to me. And I don't take that lightly. and I feel like people should do more of those things that bring them joy because we don't know when this thing called life will end. And I love that I'm leaving legacy. Like my children, my grandchildren, friends, anybody could pick up my book and read it and be like, dang, that was Vi. I see a lot of Vi in this. They could go on YouTube, search up Sentimentally Speaking, and be like, that was my girl, that was my sister, that was my mama. So I feel like I'm doing things that are going to live long beyond me, because we're not here for a long time, but we better be here for a good time. And I just say enjoy yourself, enjoy life, and let those who love on you be loved by you in the most authentic, real way that you can.
Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned the saturation. I know I had brought up originally. Well, think about for one thing, I don't know the exact statistics on it, but most podcasts that start off, they end pretty quickly. A lot of them don't make it past the first year. So, you went over some kind of hurdles, so you're doing pretty good. The other thing, stuff, that's what I'm talking about the saturation part. The other thing, I think it doesn't I think the more podcasts that you have, I think it gives people more choices. And I think I don't really think it's too many. I don't think it's oversaturated. I know it seems like, I know I hear people saying that, but I encourage everybody, to get a podcast and to stick with it if you can. Because just I don't want to make it about me, but touch lives with podcasts. Like you mentioned, I've got messages from people saying, like, thank you so much, for helping out so and so, or thank you so much. People have hopes and dreams, and it's like a lot of folks don't mess with them. And these podcasts that we have, it helps get them out there. And oh God, another thing I was telling somebody, it was about championship belts. Around the corner from the house, there's a store, and they sell championship belts. Right? Like UFC or wrestling or something. And I don't have the loot for it, but I would love to get one of those belts, rent out Washington Avenue Armory, right? And put on some kind of fight there. What I noticed that these people, when they train, they get their family all involved. And when they get up there and fight and say they win or whatever, it just means the world to these people when you set up a venue so they can shine. And these podcasts, I believe, allow folks to do that. And it just touched me so much to give people a venue, something where they can talk about what it is that they do. And you make that happen for people. And I think you should be commended for that. So whatever you do, keep your podcast going, right? Hang in there and keep doing you, right?
Thank
So
you.
anyway,
That
let me,
that
yeah,
God.
about out of time. You get down there and stuff. Say goodbye to everybody. One moment, please. What is that? Parting is such sweet sorrow. Once again, at the end of another podcast. I invite each and every one of you to check out our previous YanBar podcast guests. And always remember that the YanBar podcast is a place where you make it happen. Now, I know I tell everybody this. What do I mean by you make it happen? Well, I'm talking about the guests that come on here and the people that watch. It ain't about me. It's about you. So that's why I say you make it happen. Peace, everybody. Here via Antenette. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
You're more than welcome. Let everybody